Well, hi, everybody. My name is Rob Slaughter, and I'm the president of Competently, and we are the premier organizational assessment and talent intelligence platform on the market. And I'm here with our CMO, Mark Ogney. And today, guess what? It's January 2025, and we're going to be talking about SKOs. It is the season, and whether you are in the midst of your planning or you're getting ready to have your SKO, we wanted to talk about really what are we trying to get out of SKOs in 2025? What is it that we expect from SKOs, from the amount of work it takes to put these on to what is the output of the SKO 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 12 months from now? And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today, and how Competently, in our opinion, allows you not only to benchmark what you have from a talent perspective on your sales team prior to going into an SKO, but God forbid, how are we doing? How are we trending post SKO? What did we learn? Did we apply those learnings? All sorts of things can be actually measured now and quantified, whereas we kept our fingers crossed and we hope for the best. And, hope is not the right strategy for 2025. So, Mark, anything you want to add before we kind of just bat this around a little bit and talk about the positives and the negatives?
I would add. So first of all, my beginning of my career was in sales, so I say this from the perspective of planning SKOs from both sides of the equation. There is a lot of value in getting the camaraderie. You have large sales teams; they're geographically dispersed. Once or twice or so a year, you get them together, and there's value to that camaraderie and the community. But that's not the only element of value that you need to consider. And I think that sometimes organizations just say, well, at a minimum, we're going to have the camaraderie. Maybe we'll get some product training in. But a point that you brought up about measurement, like, is that even, I guess we don't need to debate, is that even a relevant conversation? Because a lot of people don't look at it and say, what's the ROI of an SKO?
Right, right.
They look at it
Agreed.
from the soft benefit perspective and say, well, we needed to tell them about the product anyways. Well, the camaraderie was really great. And we
Yeah,
think that it probably helps us achieve our numbers, but we can't connect it in any way.
yeah,
And,
yeah. CEO doesn't want to hear that, do they?
no, but, sometimes I think they bought in the CFO has bought into it from a perspective of, just those soft things. Like, it's okay if we just have the camaraderie and the product learning, like that'll be
Yeah,
okay. And,
right.
it's, I think that the issue for me, the way I look at it right now, is that the volume and velocity of change in the last 25 years, but even just look at the last 4 or 5 years, we've had a global pandemic, AI, we've had like the economy, deal cycles are longer. The environment has changed dramatically. And I think what was the playbook that you'd had for an SKO has just become irrelevant, probably even a number of years ago.
Right, right. Yeah, it's interesting. I think that what we fail to do is that, we everybody's working really, really hard. And, when your head's down in the trenches, you don't get to actually see the entire field. And I think that that's hurting SKOs, learning and development, training, sales enablement teams, especially hard right now. I speak to a lot of them, and they really feel under pressure. They continuously are going to finance or whoever they need to get approvals for budgets for the years, and they're saying that we need this, but they're not able to, like, once again, like we talk about, quantify what is it that the business is going to get for those dollars. Are we going to get a 1-to-1? Are we going to get a 5-to-1? God forbid, are we going to get 50 cents on the dollar? They have no idea. There's no way. Just throw the dart, close your eyes and throw the dart, and that's what you're going to say. And in the environment we're in right now, finance is not buying into that anymore. And so, one of the things with Competently, when we first designed Competently, was really to quantify for L&D professionals, not only to validate, okay, so here's our recommendation on the development pathway, the learning that needs to happen, but why? Not because we've been doing business as coaches for 25 years. That's not a good enough reason anymore. As you said, the world has changed not only in 25 years, but my God, in the last 3 years, the change is exponential. So when you have L&D professionals, and I'm not besmirching anyone because, I think that they're all now, adapting to the world that we're in, but you cannot be in that profession and say, we're going to do these types of trainings because they have historically performed in the past. No one cares. That book is done and gone with. We need to write a new script, a new book. And that is one of the things that Competently can do with our assessments, either sales acumen, business acumen, a mixture of anything that you want, is to really look at what's inside the person. So we're tailoring the learning to the person specifically. Is this person somebody that already has some type of sales and business acumen, and we need to put them into a smaller learning channel? Or is this maybe somebody new to sales and they need soup to nuts? They need how to understand how to not only build rapport, but they need to go all the way into deal closing and asking for referrals. They may need it all. That's fine. But not everybody needs the exact same things. And you're wasting a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of gray matter when you just assume that sales enablement needs to stand up there in front of the class or product marketing or whoever it may be and give them the standard show. Nobody needs the standard show anymore. We've got to specialize. We've got to give them, there's got to be more to this than, like you said, the camaraderie, fantastic. I'm all for it. But it's got to be more than a week-long party and, team building exercise.
Not that a week-long party is a bad thing, but
No, no. In my younger days, they were much funner though. Yeah, yeah,
we were talking about spin selling the other day, and
yeah,
I've been
yeah,
through the Caras negotiation, Xerox training,
yeah.
like I don't know, countless sales training programs, and they're good, but they're trying to treat everybody from a generic perspective. And I've seen then
Right,
more bespoke sales coaches and things like that who then teach, a skill to a team as if none of them have ever used it before.
right.
And so the idea that you can come at it and say, well, hey, Rob's a whole lot better at understanding client needs than I am.
Yeah,
Well, probably you don't need to have the same degree of training in that area.
that's
Maybe it's a
right.
more advanced thing, or maybe there are other areas of skills that you need to pick up on that I may or may not need to also. And that's really the point here in all of this. And I mentioned change before, and like, why is it now? Why do we have to have this conversation now? And you, as hard as it's become harder for us to sell, there's a parallel response from the buyer, which is they become much more risk averse, and the threshold that they need to overcome, and that risk tolerance, to overcome. It's not just, did you have a better price? Do you have all the functionality? But they need to trust you. Like the
Yeah,
EQ side, the emotional intelligence here, and in adversity quotient, meaning the ability to maneuver and to say, okay, well, my buyer's heading this way. I need to adjust. Like these are the things now that are creating winning and losing teams. If you understand how to communicate more effectively with a buyer, and that's not something that everybody reads from the same textbook.
hmm hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you and I talk a lot about, communicating effectively, building trust, building rapport is not about how many channels can we hit them with, and how much messaging can we clobber them with. I would say something pretty unpopular to the effect that, over the last generation and a half or even two generations of marketing and sales, we we've kind of created this perception that it's just a formula. That's all it is. Marketing and sales is the formula to be followed. You say this, you send this only when a platform sees this. And that is taken, as you said, you know, understanding that there's a human on the other side of that. And a human has their own biases. A human has their own fears and their own risk aversion to anything. And especially in a costly sales cycle, it can, something going sideways can cost someone their career. very,
Yeah.
very quickly,
Yeah.
if it goes south. And, what I see a lot of salespeople are very good at telling them, this is what's going on, and this is the change you need to make, and this is how you make the change. But then they leave out one important thing, and it's like, why change now? Why?
Mhm.
What's the why, and that's something they struggle with because they, as you said, they haven't created that trust yet, or that relationship with either the executive sponsor, the buying team, whoever it may be. So no decision is usually what you're looking at on that. You're
And
not going to lose that. You're going to lose that status quo, really, because and I'm sorry, one last thing is that the in change, you may know you need to change, and we probably need to change now. But with a lot of these organizations, they're invested so heavily into what they have, either the martech, the sales tech, they've built processes, all around these things. And when you're asking them to change, and it may make a ton of sense, but my God, that's going to cost a lot of money. That's just going to cost way too much money. So you run into that quite often as well.
you know, just dovetailing on a point that you're making there about um, the risk aversion and a no decision. It's the easiest decision, but it is a decision, right?
It's a decision. Yeah. What is
But
that, a Rush song?
yeah, yeah, that's right. It
And for all the kids out there, Rush is a Canadian rock band from the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
yeah, and the ability to break through that risk aversion isn't going to happen because of better PowerPoint. Isn't going to
No.
happen because um, you know more about the product.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to happen because you're smoother or more confident. Maybe confidence could help, but more confident than another. But it's going to come from understanding, do you have the capacity to understand what that person's struggling with?
Yeah.
This is all about them, not you. And I think the
Yeah.
SKO pushes a lot more on the you, meaning
Yeah.
I'm going to give you more product training. It's not a bad thing. Most
Yeah.
people need more product training, but it's not
Yeah.
the thing that's going to help in the 2025 year.
You're so right, Mark. I mean, everybody has got great technology. Everybody has great data.
Mhm.
Everyone's always asking technology, data, technology, data. And the differentiator moving into this new world that we're in is going to be on talent. Talent is what's going to win at this point because everybody's got the same damn tools. Everybody's got the same damn data.
Mhm.
Newsflash, it's true. It's so, Mark, it's interesting, all this that we're talking about. Today, I was just reading a LinkedIn post from someone that, I highly respect, has, 25 years plus in B2B enterprise sales. And they were just posing a question, if you are in the C-suite and you are, what are the most important things to help enable your sales team to reach their goals in 2025? And people were chiming in left and right. And it was, better go-to-market strategy. And we need a sales enablement platform that's easy to use and allows my team to sell more and everything like that. And the list went on and on and on about very tactical things that everybody wanted. And I just put in there, it's like, I want to know more about my team. I want to know who's on my team. I want to know what's their acumen. I want to know what kind of skills they already have and what I need to work on to help develop them.
Mhm.
And that is the point I'm trying to make is that, everybody is equal now. AI is the great equalizer, and it's going to make everybody instantaneously freaking smart as hell. All right. Even me, I can use AI and I'm a smart guy now. All right. But once again, the basics are not, we have to get back to some of these basics and those universal human truths that we were talking about, just the biases, the fears, the things of that nature. Only humans understand that. Algorithms do not, you know. So it's one of my pet peeves. I see it all the time. Sales is a science, and all these people in sales operations and sales enablement and revenue ops and everything like that. They keep wanting to these elaborate processes and everything like that. It's not a science. Yes, there's a component of it that is a science, but this is a craft. And it's a craft that you have to develop, or you are not going to be as good as somebody else. You know, if if you feel AI is going to do it all for you, go ahead, man, light it up. See what happens, man. Let me know. I'll give out my email, after this. And I'm not saying you're going to fail. I'd like to find out, and it's I'm not trying to pull a John Henry, kind of moment here, but I think that we have to really get real that AI it can't be the driver of all of this. There has to be a human that's interacting with this, and a human that has experience and knows how to communicate with another human being at the end of the day. Now, if you're a commoditized product, go for it. There's no reason.
Yeah.
I can understand you wanting to cut out humans in the equation because you're going to reduce your cost of acquisition greatly. But if you're in B2B, if you're in SMB mid-market, or, golly, if you're in enterprise, that is the fastest way for you to be discarded very, very quickly.
I was just going to say that exactly there, which is if all you have is to bring in a new tool to get more data, to automate something else, you're disposable.
Yeah,
And you could
absolutely.
you could put
Absolutely.
anybody into your role then.
Yeah.
That's your philosophy. And not that all tools are bad. In fact, we need tools. I think we've
Yeah.
over-rotated over the last 10, 15 years, trying to rely too much on tools.
Yeah.
But where people say that they're afraid of like AI taking their job, that's for people that don't know how to adapt, change, try new
Right.
things.
Right.
And it's not, people point to, well, I need to find people that understand how to use AI. It's not just that. AI is going to be a part of your life. I mean, whether you're in
Yeah.
sales, marketing,
It,
finance, whatever, it already is. Your iPhone is using AI today.
yeah.
Now, the question becomes, how do you work with it?
Yeah.
What is the human component that's going to make a difference for you as an individual in your sales cycle?
Yeah.
And speaking of the SKO. And so it's not about training on a new tool. It's not just about learning about new product features and product lines and things like that at the SKO. This is going to be, how do you differentiate your people to make your people more effective when
That's
they go
right.
out and talk to people every day of the
And
week?
that's the big word, effective. And yes, efficient. That's just going to have to be part of it. But what you said earlier just made me really think is like, asking someone this year and forward, do you know how to use AI, is going to be as silly sounding as when someone says, "Oh, I'm a master of Microsoft Office," you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be silly sounding. It's part of everyday life. You have to use it. You don't have to use it, but God, my God, it makes your life a lot easier. But we cannot lose the fact that we can't seed effectiveness for pure efficiency. That we can't do it.
yeah.
That's we're already seeing that doesn't really help move the needle, being just focusing all of your attention on being much more efficient to what end?
So let's look at this as a journey over the last 5 years of change. The buyer is changing. We're trying to stay in the same path and become more efficient at executing that path. Sales cycles are getting longer, ACV is getting lower, revenues declining. Why are we trying to do the same thing better?
Right, right,
You know, the,
exactly.
the buyer is changing. Why aren't we changing at least as fast as that buyer? And right now, the buyer's saying that trust, the ability to understand their needs and to adjust conversations, have a conversation that is intelligent about the client and their needs, is what they are looking for. They're looking to find somebody they can trust, and telling them more frequently that you have better features isn't going to solve that.
Yeah, 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 absolutely, absolutely agree 100%.
Well, what do you say here? I'd say that we have an idea. And Rob, why don't you share the idea about what people can do with Competently starting right now?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Once again, because, Mark and I don't want to speak for Mark, but I've known Mark for a long, long time. We've done this rodeo before. We've been through a couple SKOs in our careers. And we know that right now that it is a major focus of a lot of organizations. We're supremely confident, that once again, it's not about a new hack or a new tweak or some new feature that's going to put your team, over the edge and help them reach the goals they need. It's really getting back to the basics and understanding is like, first and foremost, who is my team? What is the talent set that I'm working with? Because once again, talent is, we can argue that it's objective, but it's very subjective. And when we want to look at talent, we want to find the strengths and weaknesses of those that are on our teams. Can we reallocate certain people into roles that we would not have necessarily placed them in and saved a lot of headache and help them, achieve their goals much faster? But like I said, more importantly, what we can really do to help organizations is figure out, what do these people on your team need very quickly? What are the gaps? And then how do we automate those learning and development pathways for them? So long story short, getting back to the SKO is that, how do we measure the effectiveness of the SKO moving forward and out into 2025? And like I said, we're so confident incompetently that we're willing to give a baseline SKO assessment of your team prior to your SKO, kicking off your SKO. And what value does that bring to your organization? What's in it for your organization? Well, our assessment platform will tell you what you're dealing with before the SKO starts. And then what you can do after that is you can tailor your SKO to the findings that we're going to provide and help you be a little bit more effective in your SKO. But more importantly, post SKO, we can come back, or you can do it on your own. We can loop back. We can do a post SKO assessment and then show your C suite, this is the impact we had. We started from here. Here's the evidence. It's right here in numbers. And then post SKO, here's how we help them achieve and move forward and mature in these certain competencies and these skills. So like I said, we're so confident in what we do, and we're so focused on people and your talent. We want to help you develop talent. We want to make sure that you're dealing with the right people. So like I said, we're willing to put our money where our mouth is and offer this free assessment prior to your SKO. Get in touch with Mark or I, and we'll make sure that email addresses are attached to this video, and we'd be happy to set you up and give you all the fine print details that come along with that.
Well, fantastic. I'm looking forward to a great 2025. I think there's a lot of green lights turning on, but I think right now it's going to be how fast can selling teams evolve to adapt to the changed buyer. That it's
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
playbook thing that you just pull off of a shelf and dust it off once a year. And I think we got a great solution for people to take advantage of. And the worst case scenario is the first step is free.
absolutely. And the one thing I leave everybody with is that, as I say, 2025, getting back to the basics, is that, the old adage is that nothing happens until somebody sells something. That's all while we're in business. But one thing that people need to remember is not every somebody should be in sales.
And the ones that are there should be great.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark. This has been
Thanks a
good.
lot, Rob.
Appreciate it.
Okay, doke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Take bye.